What if someone changed all your thoughts about aliens? You know, the little green men or tall gray-shaped men? It is in our human nature to fear what is unknown. Though, what if aliens were evolved humans? I'm your host, Anne, and joined by my producer, Eddie V.
Hi there.
We are so humbled and blessed to have spoken to Judy Carroll. Judy is an author, Reiki healer, and teacher. She joins us on this episode of Unexplained Realms, the podcast, to share her mission here on Earth and help us understand more about what we call aliens. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Is that Anne I'm speaking to?
Yes, this is Anne, and my producer Eddie is here too.
Good day.
Hi there. Are we on audio or video? Do you want to do a video?
We can do audio. It's fine. It's for a podcast.
Yep, okay, no worries.
Yeah. So, how's your weather out there? Is it cool or is it hot?
Oh, it's just lovely today, and we're in the middle of spring at the moment, so it's just nicely warming up. It's actually a little bit cooler today. It's probably about low 80s in your language. I've got to think we use the other one, you know.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Not the Fahrenheit, the other one.
Right. We're Fahrenheit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit warm for us. We're late summer, early fall, and it's pretty warm still here for us.
Yeah.
So,
you'll be starting to get a bit cool still, you know.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Winter.
Yeah. So I read a little bit about you and a little bit in your books. I read that this began in your 30s. Do you recall anything happening before that?
Just come again. What was it you read?
I read that you began having these encounters in your 30s. Did you ever have any prior to that?
Yes, I did. During my childhood, I wasn't really consciously aware, but I was. It was really hard to explain. It's like as if there was two brains working in my head, and I went through a lot of fear because I knew something was going on. And I do remember being taken by this tall woman to board a train. That was what my child's mind told me, but it was actually going onto a ship. So, yeah, I did have some contact in my childhood, but not as conscious as when I got into my 30s.
That's amazing. Your story and your story is in your books, and obviously we want listeners to read your books. But can you give us a little bit of background? You know, the encounters and experiences that you've had, and maybe your first encounter, like when you were in your 30s, that you really recall.
Yeah, well, I had a really major one in my 30s. My husband and I were living out on an acreage property, and his parents were over this particular afternoon. It was a Sunday afternoon, and I started feeling a bit like I was coming down with the flu, and I went upstairs to a bedroom to lie down and went into the state of paralysis that a lot of people experience during contact. At that stage, I didn't realise what it was, so I was scared, and I could hear this loud roaring sort of buzzing sound in my head. And the next minute, I became aware of three of the greys standing in the room with me in such full sort of physical reality. They were actually blocking light coming in through a window to my left.
Wow. And
they started communicating with me. As soon as I saw them, all my fear dissipated because I recognised them straight away as family. And one of them made a joke with me that I'd hidden myself away in the country for way too long. It was time for me to get back to work. And they then went on to explain that I needed to learn to meditate because up until that point I'd been a professional dancer, so I wasn't sort of into spiritual stuff much. I was very physically oriented. So they explained to me that I would have to learn to meditate, and the way for me to do that would be through Tai Chi, which at that point in time I'd hardly heard of. I mean, you know, this was the early 1980s in Australia, and no, the new agey sort of thing hadn't really hit here yet. They explained to me that it would help me to learn to meditate, and they also explained to me that I needed to learn a natural healing modality. So anyway, over the next 3 years, some amazing coincidences happened. My whole life changed. We did move from the country back into the city. People moved next door the lady was a meditator. She'd been meditating for 10 years, and her meditation teacher had just moved up from down south, so I was invited to join their group. So I joined this meditation group where we trained in channeling and automatic writing, things like that. And I never felt real comfortable with the channeling because with the Greys, they don't communicate verbally. They communicate telepathically. And so trying to channel them, it was always a real struggle. I was coughing and they were struggling with my voice mechanism. So what they did, they turned my attention more into automatic writing. And a massive number of lovely uplifting messages came through the automatic writing. But it was actually being used as training to get me used to the idea of writing because they had the plans down the track for me to write books. So that was what happened there. I took up Tai Chi and absolutely loved it. I finally came to realise why they wanted me to do it, because Tai Chi is known as moving meditation. And they wanted me to use it as a way of learning to meditate, but also as a way of remaining grounded, because when you're doing Tai Chi, it's wonderful for balancing the left and right hemispheres of the brain, which is exactly what I've needed to write my books, because I sort of channel them through the information. So I'm sort of half there and half here, but I've got to be able to stay grounded enough to be able to write down what I'm being given. So that was fantastic training. And then the other thing that happened was a fellow came along to learn Tai Chi off me who had just done Reiki 1. And I was being trained in spiritual healing in a meditation group, but I could feel the energy coming out of this fellow's hands was much, much stronger. He joined our meditation group, and at the beginning of each session, we used to all hold hands around the circle and say the Lord's Prayer. And he happened to be sitting next to me, and I could feel this energy coming out of his hand that wasn't coming out of the hand of the person next to me who was right into professional healing. So I thought to myself, well, I'm going to have to investigate this. And down the track, I was given the opportunity to learn Reiki. So basically everything that the Greys told me in that first meeting came true. I'm now teaching Tai Chi and I teach Reiki, practicing both regularly. And, of course, then the books followed. So that's basically my story. They wanted me to tell the story of ET contact from their perspective rather than from the Earth human perspective. Right. So that's why I was encouraged to write.
Amazing. That's just truly amazing. Why do you think that you were selected personally?
Why did I say? Sorry,
why do you believe you were selected? Do you think that there's a reason?
I was actually, when I was planning this life, I came in as what's called a melded soul. In my last life, I was a Zeta Grey, and I was involved in the mission of the planetary shift that's happening at the moment, right back in the early 1930s, 1940s. And when I passed over, I chose to be born back into an Earth human body in the early 1950s, so that I could fully experience what it is to be human. But before my birth, I made the decision to come in with what's called a melded or blended soul. And what that is, it's at the time of our shifting from our pure energy state of oneness prior to birth to become an individuated physical being. We synchronize energetically with two different planetary cultures rather than with the usual one. So I synchronize energetically both with the Earth human culture and with the Grey culture, the higher ET culture. And so that's the reason why I've received all this contact, because I chose to come in that way, like to act as a bridge and an ambassador between the two races. So this is basically why I received this information. It was a pre-birth decision, as it is with everyone.
Right. How does one know if they've been selected? Would it just come to them? Would they know, or?
Yes. You sort of have all through your childhood, you have this feeling that there's something else going on. As I say, it's really hard to describe. It's like as if you've got two brains working in your head and you're aware of both at the same time. Most people who have been selected or have chosen to be selected, it's actually a free will, pre-birth choice we make for contact with off-planet people. And through your whole life, you just feel this awareness, and you know when they make contact, you know it. There's no mistaking about it.
Wow. Okay. I went to your webpage and I saw the meditation video. Absolutely loved it. I'm heavily into meditation myself. How important do you think that is to our planet? I mean, if we were able to gain participation from large amounts of humans, could we heal the planet individually? Could we heal the planet as a collective?
Yes. Look, it's extremely important at the moment. We're going through a number of planetary harmonic convergences. There's been 2 this year, and there's another one coming in on the 21st of December this year. And what people need to understand is that we create our reality through the way we think. Quantum physics is proving this. So people really, really need at this stage to start tuning into positivity rather than negativity. But of course, everything down here is trying to stop us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So much negativity being put out online and in the news, etc., etc. But what we have to learn to do is to practice compassionate non-attachment and just not get sucked into it all. The timing is really important because there's 2 major planetary cycles, as I talk about in my Extra-Terrestrial Presence on Earth book. There are 2 major cycles that are in the process of changing over now, and that's what this planetary shift is all about, that the Hopi people and the Mayans spoke about. Right. We're shifting from 4th to 5th world consciousness.
Right. I specifically loved the part where you talk about humans of the earth, they're like children, like this is level 1, like the kindergarten. I love that. Yeah. I believe that fully, that's truly what's happening here. But can you elaborate on that a little bit, just a little bit more?
Yes. Back in 2001, a family that I was contacted by, who was starting to have very, very full-on contact experiences in their home. The mother of the family, Helene Kay, is co-author of one of my other books entitled The Zeta Message. Okay. And she has one of her children was receiving very full-on conscious contact from a Zeta elder by the name of Horus. And during the process of this contact, Horus gave us a teaching on what the Greys refer to as the human ladder. And what it is, it's 10 what they call galactic levels, but they're not actually physical places. They're levels of conscious awareness, expanding conscious awareness. And he explained to us that planet Earth, along with a number of other universal cultures, are on level 1. Which means that we can access about 10% of our potential conscious awareness. As we evolve up the ladder through multiple lives, we are then able to access 20%, 30%, 40%, etc. as we go up through levels 2, 3, 4, and up to the top of 10, which is basically source energy or angelic realms, as people down here think of it, where we become pure mind. We move right away from physical or the need for physical existence. So this is what I'm talking about here. Earth plane humans are right down on level 1, right? But the planetary shift is to do with moving up to level 2. So this is why people need to break through the fear barrier, which is what confines our ability to access more conscious awareness. And this is what all the testing and difficulty is going on planet Earth at the moment. Planet Earth is a school planet, and people are being tested to see if they can move past the fear barrier and move more into unconditional love.
I 100% believe that you are correct. I do. What we see every day, it's mind-blowing, but you have to look at it, that this is a training zone for us. It's got to be.
And some people seem to be evolved more than others. I mean, if we're down here, if we are level 1, some people aren't even up to that level.
Right. So if someone is pretty much at that right level and they've reached this higher consciousness, if they were to have contact, would it be really obvious or would it not be obvious? Would they just show up in your room, the Greys, or would it be